Welcome back to our channel. Think your 1967, 1980, 1999, or 2014 dime is just spare change? Think again, some of these coins are worth hundreds. Like and subscribe before you spend yours. There are times when the most astonishing treasures are hidden right in the palm of our hands, quietly passing through pockets, cash registers, and coin jars without drawing any attention. They often seem ordinary, unassuming, and indistinguishable from millions of others. Yet every now and then, one of these tiny pieces of metal holds a story so remarkable that it changes the way we see the everyday. That's precisely the case with the very rare 1967 US 1-dime coin, a coin that traveled quietly through time before finally being recognized for what it truly is, a numismatic marvel with a tale of error, scarcity, and immense value. The year was 1967. The United States was in the midst of social change, cultural revolution, and economic transition. It was also a unique year for coin collectors, due to decisions made by the U.S. Mint in response to a serious coin shortage that had plagued the country in the early 1960s. In an effort to discourage hoarding, the Mint had temporarily suspended the production of proof and uncirculated mint sets. The coins minted in 1967 bore no mint marks at all, regardless of whether they were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. It was a rare attempt to blur the origins of coins to deter mass collection and promote circulation. Among these faceless dimes, most were Roosevelt dimes made from a copper-nickel clad composition, 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel, as silver had been removed from dimes a year earlier in 1965. Billions were produced that year, and the Roosevelt dime was already a familiar fixture of American currency, with the late president's profile appearing on the obverse and a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch on the reverse. But within that massive mintage, a very small number of 1967 dimes left the mint carrying flaws that would make them stand out decades later. These weren't flaws visible to the average eye. They didn't look broken, melted, or odd at first glance. Instead, they bore subtle but powerful signs of minting errors, the kind that would only be noticed by someone looking closely, very closely. Double die obverse were among the most intriguing. In these cases, a second image was struck slightly off from the first, resulting in a doubling of the inscriptions. On the rarest 1967 dimes, the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," appear shadowed, almost like ghost letters emerging behind the real ones. Sometimes the doubling extended to Roosevelt's eye or the date itself. These features are rare, nearly impossible to detect without a magnifying glass, yet once spotted, they elevate a coin from ordinary to priceless. Another prized error found among a select few 1967 dimes involves off-center strikes. These coins were misaligned during the minting process, causing part of the design to be shifted, with blank metal visible where a portion of the image should have been. These kinds of errors are more noticeable and dramatic, and the further off-center the strike, while still retaining the full date, the more valuable the coin becomes to collectors. A perfectly off-center 1967 dime is a breathtaking find, especially when it's preserved in pristine condition. Some of the most captivating 1967 dimes were struck on the wrong planchet entirely. A planchet is the blank disc used to strike coins, and in very rare cases, the wrong one is loaded into the minting press. In the case of a 1967 dime, it could have been a foreign planchet, or one meant for a different denomination like a cent or a nickel. The result? A dime that appears too small, too thin, or entirely the wrong color. Imagine finding a 1967 dime with a golden hue or silver brilliance that doesn't match its expected metal content. It's the sort of discovery that turns pocket change into a six-figure asset. These mistakes weren't meant to exist. The Mint's systems were built for precision, but no system is perfect. When a die misaligns, when a blank slips through quality control, when a press hits twice instead of once, an error coin is born. Most are caught, melted down, or destroyed. But a few survive. A few slip into circulation. A few make their way into the hands of people who have no idea they're holding something extraordinary. And what happens when someone finally recognizes the treasure they've stumbled upon? Often, it starts with curiosity. A collector going through a roll of dimes spots one that looks slightly off. A coin dealer notices an unusual weight or finish. Or someone just sorting through pocket change catches a strange glint and decides to look a little closer. With a little research, a magnifying glass, and perhaps a submission to a professional grading service, the truth is revealed, and a coin once valued at 10 cents is now worth tens of thousands. Over the years, professional graders at PCGS and NGC have authenticated several of these ultra-rare 1967-era dimes, each time confirming their legitimacy and assigning a grade that reflects their condition and rarity. Coins found in uncirculated or mint state condition, untouched by hands and the wear of time, can sell for the highest prices. The combination of a high grade and a significant error type creates a collector's dream. Auctions have shown us time and again that modern collectors are willing to pay incredible sums to own such pieces of history, but the appeal of these coins isn't just in their monetary value. It's in the story they tell. A story of a year when the mint tried to mask its operations, when errors slipped past the most rigid of systems, and when ordinary people unknowingly carried miniature fortunes in their pockets. These coins are time travelers, survivors of fate and chance, tiny witnesses to a moment in history frozen in metal. The 1967 dime reminds us that mystery and value can still be found in the smallest, quietest places. That even in the age of digital wallets and contactless payments, the coins in our pockets still hold secrets worth uncovering. For every person who's ever tossed a dime into a fountain, for luck or for fun, there's a chance that coin had a much grander destiny. Today, if you are lucky enough to come across a very rare 1967 US 1 dime coin with a significant mint error and in high condition, it could be worth anywhere from $58,000 to $142,000. That's not just a collector's fantasy. It's a real possibility, one found in junk drawers, coffee cans, and change machines across the country. So the next time you pick up a coin, take a second look. It might just be a hidden masterpiece, a rare treasure, a forgotten story waiting to be told, and it might be worth far more than you ever imagined. There's something magical about the way history hides in plain sight. Often, the most remarkable stories are found not in books or museums, but in the most unexpected places. Like the jingling change in your pocket. Imagine holding a tiny coin that has passed through hands for over 4 decades, through purchases, pockets, machines, and drawers, yet all the while carrying a secret known only to a few. The 1980 US 1 dime coin is one such quiet mystery. While most of its kind were born to serve the mundane needs of everyday transactions, a rare few were struck differently, bearing errors so unusual that they turned a simple 10-cent piece into a dazzling numismatic gem worth tens of thousands of dollars. The year was 1980. America was on the cusp of a new decade. Ronald Reagan was poised to take the presidency, disco was fading, and the economy wrestled with inflation and unemployment. But inside the massive machinery of the U.S. Mint, work continued as usual. Billions of coins were being pressed with mechanical precision, rolling off the dies in streams of copper-nickel clad discs, each marked with the proud profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt and the trusted stamp of American currency. The Roosevelt dime had long since become a standard piece of U.S. coinage, having replaced the Mercury dime in 1946 as a tribute to the late president. By 1980, its design was familiar and its purpose routine. But not every coin followed the script. Hidden within the vast output of dimes that year were a handful of rare error coins, accidents of minting that would one day become prized possessions. These were not coins with noticeable scratches or dents. No, these were born from deeper flaws, mistakes in the very process of creation. Mistakes that collectors today would give anything to find. Some of these 1980 dimes exhibit double die errors, among the most captivating of all coin anomalies. A double die occurs when the die itself, the metal stamp that impresses the design onto a blank coin, is engraved twice at slightly different angles. When that flawed die is used to mint coins, every one of them carries ghost-like images layered beneath the true design. On a rare 1980 dime, you might spot subtle but unmistakable doubling in the inscriptions like "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even in the date itself. These aren't decorative quirks. They are signs of something gone technically wrong and marvelously collectible. Then there are off-center strikes. These errors occur when a coin blank is misaligned in the press. Instead of being struck perfectly in the center, the design is imprinted off to one side. The result? A dime with a partial image, an exposed crescent of blank metal, and an unmistakable charm that speaks of the imperfect dance of steel and speed. The further off-center the coin, the more dramatic the look, and the more it's worth to collectors, especially if the date remains fully visible. Even more dramatic are the rare wrong planchet errors. Imagine a dime struck not on the correct copper-nickel clad planchet, but on one meant for a penny, a foreign coin, or another denomination entirely. This produces dimes that are too light, too dark, or entirely the wrong color. A 1980 dime minted on a bronze penny blank would appear almost golden or reddish in tone, its weight off from the norm, its value skyrocketed by its rarity. The U.S. Mint handled vast numbers of coins for other countries during this era, so the chance of a foreign blank ending up in a U.S. press, though tiny, wasn't impossible. When such errors slip past inspection and enter circulation, they become the stuff of legend. One of the most overlooked yet compelling anomalies is the no-s proof error. While this is more commonly associated with proof coins, those specially made for collectors, a proof 1980 dime that somehow lacks the S mint mark for San Francisco would be an earth-shattering discovery. While no verified examples from 1980 have surfaced in official records, the collector world remains ever watchful. Because when it comes to rare coins, sometimes history isn't written until the discovery is made. Collectors cherish these flawed masterpieces because they represent the unexpected, the unplanned, and the unlikely. They are testaments to human imperfection and mechanical unpredictability. In a world where billions of coins look the same, these few tell a different story. They whisper of missed inspections, hurried presses, and one-in-a-million coincidences. Each one is a time capsule of curiosity. The most valuable of these 1980 dimes are those that remain in pristine condition. Grade matters greatly. A coin graded MS 67 or higher, meaning it's in near-perfect, mint state condition, can fetch a small fortune, especially if it also features one of these significant errors. When a high-grade error dime is authenticated by respected grading agencies like PCGS or NGC, it receives a certificate that opens doors to private sales, elite auctions, and prestigious collections. Over the years, stories have emerged of lucky individuals discovering one of these rarities in the most ordinary places. A woman in Florida once found a rare off-center 1980 dime in her husband's old cigar box. A young collector in Illinois discovered a double die error while coin roll hunting through dozens of bank rolls. Another man in California unknowingly carried a rare planchet error dime in his wallet for years, thinking it was simply discolored until a chance encounter with a coin dealer changed everything. What looked like 10 cents turned into tens of thousands of dollars. These stories fuel the dreams of collectors and casual coin handlers alike. They remind us that in a world obsessed with digital wealth and fleeting trends, tangible treasures still await discovery. They're not flashy. They don't shout. They simply sit, waiting for the right eyes to notice their silent uniqueness. The 1980 US 1-dime coin might be just another coin to most people. It might slip through vending machines, fall between couch cushions, or vanish into parking meters. But among those billions, a select few are marvels of minting mystery. They are rare, precious, and stunningly valuable. So the next time you come across an old dime, especially one bearing the date 1980, take a closer look. Tilt it toward the light. Inspect the edges. Study the inscriptions. Because hidden in your hands may be a coin that defied the odds, survived unnoticed for decades, and now stands ready to reveal its true worth. And if you're one of the incredibly fortunate people to hold a verified error 1980 US 1-dime coin in excellent condition, you could be looking at a value ranging from $50,000 to $125,000. That's not a fantasy. That's the real-world reward of discovery. A simple dime transformed into a dazzling story of American coinage, waiting patiently for the world to take notice. In the ever-moving tide of daily life, it's easy to overlook the smallest things. A single dime might pass through 1,000 hands unnoticed, a whisper in the vast chorus of commerce. Yet sometimes, tucked into the folds of ordinary moments, something extraordinary emerges. A coin unlike the rest. A story pressed in metal, just waiting to be discovered. The 1999 US 1 dime coin, at first glance, looks just like any other, a familiar sliver of copper nickel with Franklin D. Roosevelt's enduring profile. But for those who know what to look for, some of these coins hold secrets that transform them from simple pocket change into dazzling collectibles worth more than anyone would expect. The year 1999 was significant for the United States in many ways. It marked the end of a century, a bridge to a digital future, and the approach of a new millennium. As the world grew more interconnected and technology accelerated, the U.S. Mint quietly continued its decades-old tradition of producing coins for everyday use. That year, over 2 billion Roosevelt dimes were struck across the Philadelphia and Denver mints. But hidden among these billions were a small, rare group of coins that defied the standard, a misstep in minting, a flaw in the process, or an anomaly in design. These are the coins that collectors dream of discovering. These are the 1999 dimes worth far more than 10 cents. The Roosevelt dime, introduced in 1946, was never meant to be flashy. It was created as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt following his death in 1945, honoring his legacy and his battle with polio, for which the March of Dimes campaign was named. By 1999, the design had remained virtually unchanged, Roosevelt's profile on the obverse, and on the reverse, a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. The design was simple, patriotic, and efficient. But what happens when that design is altered, not by intention, but by error? That's where the magic of numismatics begins. In 1999, a select few dimes were minted with errors so rare and fascinating that they instantly stood out to trained eyes. One of the most talked about varieties from that year involves double die errors. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin is imprinted more than once at slightly different angles. When such a die is used to mint coins, the resulting images appear to be shadowed or doubled. Look closely at the inscriptions: Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, the date, and you may see the unmistakable traces of this rare and valuable error. These aren't printing tricks or wear marks. They are minting anomalies that command high prices in the collector's world. Another exciting variation from 1999 involves off-center strikes. These happen when the coin blank isn't properly aligned with the die. Instead of a perfectly centered image, the design appears shifted, sometimes dramatically so, leaving a crescent of unmarked metal along the edge. The further off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if the full date is still visible, which maintains its identity and rarity. These coins aren't just misprints, they're accidents of industrial art, where human error and machine precision misalign in the most fascinating ways. Perhaps even more fascinating are the coins struck on the wrong planchets. Imagine a dime that weighs less or more than it should, or appears redder, darker, or lighter than expected. A wrong planchet error occurs when a coin is struck on a blank meant for another denomination or even another country's currency. A 1999 dime struck on a penny blank, for instance, would appear reddish due to the copper composition. One struck on a foreign coin's blank might be even more exotic in appearance. These are incredibly rare occurrences, often caused by leftover blanks from previous production cycles or by foreign coin planchets being accidentally fed into the press. Adding to the list of rarities is the elusive, no mint mark variety. By 1999, most circulation coins bore either a P for Philadelphia or a D for Denver. If a dime appears without a mint mark, it might just be worn, but in certain cases, it could be a genuine mint error, where the mark was never added due to a die oversight. If authenticated, such an error can significantly boost the value of the coin. Beyond the minting errors, condition plays a major role in a coin's value. Most coins that enter circulation quickly show signs of wear, scratches, dings, smudges. But a few are preserved, whether by accident or design, in near-perfect state. These are graded on the Sheldon scale, with mint state, MS, grades ranging from 60 to 70. Coins graded MS 67 or higher are exceptionally well struck, clean, and sharp. Combine that pristine condition with a rare error, and the result is a numismatic treasure. Over the years, tales have emerged of people stumbling upon such coins purely by chance. A man in Pennsylvania discovered a 1999 off-center dime while sorting through a jar of coins he'd been saving since college. Another woman in Texas found a double-die 1999 dime while helping her child with a school project on American currency. One lucky collector in California was reviewing a roll of dimes from the bank and came across a stunning wrong planchet error, a coin unlike anything he'd ever seen. Each story shares a common thread: an ordinary person who took a closer look and uncovered something extraordinary. These coins are more than currency. They're living history, shaped not only by machines but by the errors and quirks that make them unique. They speak to the unpredictable side of precision manufacturing. They whisper stories of quiet discovery, careful attention, and unexpected rewards. And they continue to remind us that sometimes, in the smallest details, the biggest treasures are found. The 1999 US 1-dime coin is a prime example of how something small and seemingly insignificant can possess incredible value, both monetary and historical. For collectors, it represents a perfect storm of rarity, intrigue, and hidden beauty. For everyone else, it's a call to stay curious, to look a little closer, to listen for the soft voice of the past speaking through metal and time. And if you happen to come across a genuine 1999 error dime in exceptional condition, be it double die, off-center, wrong planchet, or mint-mark variety, you may be looking at a coin valued between $40,000 and $108,000. A simple dime transformed into a remarkable prize. All it takes is a sharp eye, a little luck, and the willingness to see what others overlook. Because the rarest stories are often hiding in plain sight. It's astonishing how often we overlook the ordinary. In a rush to hand over change at a store or slide a coin into a vending machine, we forget that some of the most fascinating treasures aren't buried deep underground or locked behind glass, they're hiding in our pockets. The 2014 US 1-dime coin is one such treasure, unassuming in appearance but incredibly rare in certain cases. For most, it's just 10 cents, a small piece of metal tossed into a jar and forgotten. But for those who understand its story, who know what to look for, this simple dime can be worth thousands. It's not just a coin. It's a piece of American minting history with a value far beyond its face. In 2014, the U.S. Mint continued its production of Roosevelt dimes, a coin that's remained virtually unchanged in design since it was first introduced in 1946. That year alone, millions of dimes were minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. These coins bore the familiar profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse, with inscriptions like "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date. On the reverse, the torch of liberty, flanked by olive and oak branches, symbolized peace and strength. It was the same dependable design, efficient and patriotic. But amid the massive quantity of coins produced, a small number of them emerged with striking anomalies, unexpected errors that caught the attention of sharp-eyed collectors and dealers alike. These errors weren't just printing quirks. They were the result of rare mechanical missteps during the minting process, turning an everyday coin into a collectible gem. One of the most fascinating varieties involves the double die error, which occurs when the die that stamps the coin's design is engraved more than once at a slightly different angle. The result is a clear doubling of letters, numbers, or design elements. On a 2014 dime, this might be most noticeable on the words "Liberty" or the date itself. If you examine a coin under magnification and see slightly offset duplicates of the lettering, you might be looking at a true double die, an error that could make your dime extremely valuable. Then there's the off-center strike. This happens when the blank planchet, the metal disc that becomes the coin, is not perfectly aligned with the dies during striking. The finished coin appears lopsided, with part of the design pushed toward one side and a portion of the coin left blank. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin, especially if the full date is still visible, maintaining its uniqueness and traceability. Coins struck 10% to 20% off-center can already be worth hundreds. But those struck even more dramatically, especially in uncirculated condition, can reach into the tens of thousands. Another highly coveted error in 2014 dimes is the wrong planchet error. This occurs when a dime is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination. Imagine a dime that's too thick, too thin, or oddly colored, one struck on a nickel or even a foreign coin's blank. These are rare events, often due to planchet leftovers from other minting runs being mistakenly fed into the presses. When discovered, these mismatched coins draw immediate attention from collectors, not only for their rarity but for their mystery. How did such a mix-up happen in an era of advanced machinery and quality control? Some of the 2014 dimes have also appeared without a mint mark. Normally, dimes struck in Philadelphia bear a P, while those from Denver bear a D. The absence of a mint mark might be dismissed as wear, but in rare cases, it's the result of a die that was never properly engraved with the mark. When confirmed to be a genuine mint error rather than post-mint damage, a no-mint mark 2014 dime becomes a numismatic prize, especially in pristine condition, and condition matters a great deal. Coins are graded using the Sheldon scale, with uncirculated coins rated from mint state 60 up to the perfect MS 70. A 2014 dime with an error might already be rare, but when found in high-grade mint state, bright, detailed, and unmarred by handling, it can command significantly more at auction or in private sale. A clean strike, full luster, and sharp detail can make all the difference, but what really draws people to coins like the 2014 dime isn't just the potential for profit. It's the story. The chance encounter. The realization that something so valuable can be hidden in plain sight. Imagine finding one in your pocket change or in a roll from the bank. It may have passed through dozens of hands before reaching you, people who never pause to look closer. You might be the first person to truly see it, to recognize what others missed. That moment of discovery is what keeps collectors searching, flipping coins under magnifiers, examining edges and inscriptions with hopeful anticipation. Across the country, these coins have been quietly surfacing. A high school student in Michigan discovered a 2014 double-die dime while searching through a coffee can of coins inherited from his grandfather. A coin dealer in Oregon found an off-center strike while preparing a batch of dimes for resale. A retired postal worker in Florida stumbled upon a wrong planchet dime while organizing his coin collection, completely unaware of its value until a local expert pointed it out. These aren't legends or myths. They're real stories of people who took a second look and uncovered something truly rare. The 2014 US 1 dime coin reminds us that even in our modern, digitized world, the art of coin collecting remains alive and full of surprises. It's a hobby rooted in patience, curiosity, and an appreciation for the tiny masterpieces that pass through our lives each day. With the right knowledge and a little luck, a single coin can go from a handful of spare change to the centerpiece of a prized collection. If you're lucky enough to find a 2014 dime with a genuine error, be it a double die, an off-center strike, a wrong planchet, or a no-mint mark variety, especially in high-grade mint state condition, you may be holding something far more valuable than you imagined. These rare dimes have been valued between $32,000 and $92,000, depending on their type, rarity, and condition. Proof that sometimes, the smallest things hide the biggest surprises. All it takes is a closer look and an eye for the extraordinary.